Hey, it's Sandra Pike from Royal LePage Atlantic and the Pike Group. And today I thought we'd go over something very interesting. I'm seeing it in a bunch of groups on Facebook, and especially for people who are moving to Nova Scotia. And people are talking about buying virtually. Is it a safe practice? Should you be doing it? So today I brought on two great guests. And Ian, I'll go with you first if you can tell us who you are.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ian Angus here with Royal LePage Atlantic. I've been selling real estate in the HRM area for the last 13 years.
And our lovely other guest.
Hi there, I'm Danielle McLean, and I am a real estate lawyer with DCL Law here in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. I've been practicing since 2004.
Wow. Like you must have been 16, were you?
That's why I love you, Sandra.
There you go. So, I just think that this topic is so important. And because it's just not about buying the house now or buying the piece of land now. Everybody's life changes, and the house that you buy today, you may have to sell that tomorrow. It could be death, divorce, job change, or job loss. Who knows? So that's why I feel that whoever your buyer agent is, the property that you're considering has to be a marketable product. You just can't think about, nothing is forever. Life changes. So Ian, tell me about what types of things you've experienced, not just on the buy side, but even throughout the years as a listing agent. I'm sure you must have went in, sometimes and just shook your head and thinking, and why a person purchased this house or a piece of land.
Well, I think the question you're asking is virtual purchases.
Yeah.
That occurs in every market that we've had in HRM for the 13 years I've been in the business. People buy new construction on spec all the time. Yeah. Without seeing the finished product. I think people in Nova Scotia need to realize that the market has changed and that this is the norm everywhere west of us. Well, except for New Brunswick, I guess, but that people are buying sight unseen. In the Ontario market, the Vancouver market, the Calgary market, it happens all the time and it's been happening for years. And the same with the low inventory levels. That's been going on for years in those other markets too. We're just feeling that now, and it's going to take a little bit of, a little push to have people realize that is the new norm.
So I get it. It's the new norm, purchasing virtually. But what are the pitfalls, do you feel, of purchasing virtually? What have you experienced? Or, maybe not necessarily as a buyer agent, but again, as a listing agent when you went to go sell that property?
Well, on the buyer side, buyer remorse is always something you worry about. When they finally come into town and see the house and you're doing your pre-close walkthrough, and this is the first time they've actually physically seen the house from the inside, and you're just looking at them going, do you really like it, or are you disappointed? Like, you're trying to read their mind. And I've been lucky, knock on wood, but most of the people have most of the people have been very happy with their choices. With the virtual tours we have now and the professional photos, people get a good idea of what they're purchasing. We're doing walkthroughs on the property on top of the video that is already provided by the listing agent. So,
okay. So Danielle, I'm sure you must come across this, where you're sitting in front of a client and they're maybe haven't understood, for example, a piece of land that was purchased.
Yeah, so I've twice now had a situation where once people went to a property, it was very different from what they anticipated from the virtual. And unfortunately, at that stage, your deal's firm and you're closing it. With the vacant land, I think it's really important that you have the discussion with your lawyer up front as to exactly what you're planning on doing with the land. I think a lot of people are buying this and all they're seeing is a property online image of, this nice little rectangle, wherever it may be, and not fully understanding, the slope of the land, how you're actually accessing the land, if you can get a driveway there, if it's boggy. And that makes me very anxious, because there's a lot of that right now. There's a lot of vacant land purchasing, and there's a lot of people doing this with absolutely no conditions at all. And I think part of that is because some of these are lower priced properties, but that doesn't mean that somebody wants to just throw their money away on it.
I would have to agree. And, I remember I had a client this year call me. They're like, Sandra, this property is only $21,000. And so now I go and I look it up. And I'm like, you can't access this land. It's landlocked. So how are you going to get to it? And they're like, oh, so are you getting any sales like that coming through where the buyer isn't understanding that they can't access that land at all?
I've said to somebody not that long ago, you would have to parachute onto this property to get to it. You need to understand that.
Wow.
We've had, or sometimes you'll see, it'll say the access is navigable waterway. So, it's on water. So in theory, you can get to it on the water. Now, practically, can you get to it? Are you going to have to get a canoe and paddle for 20 kilometers to get to this property? I don't know. And that's a hard conversation to have with people because I'm not there. I have no ability to tell you that. And in a lot of cases, the realtors are here in the city. You're buying something all the way down in Cape Breton, so they haven't seen the property either. So, there's absolutely some risk, in particular when the realtor also isn't able to walk the property, and those are the files that give me a little bit more pause. I've yet to have anybody yet decide that they don't want to close the transaction despite my telling them that there's no way to get there. They kind of go, oh well, we'll figure it out.
Can't.
Get a grant of right away. That's about all you're going to be able to do, and hopefully your neighbors are nice.
But when I'm writing on a piece of land, a consumer has to do due diligence, or they can choose not to do due diligence. And one of those would be, can you put a septic and a well on it? Can you have a driveway? Can you get utilities to that property? And, is it zoned for what you want to do? And so those things I feel are really important. And would you say that the contracts that are come across your desk, people aren't even checking those things out?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's when I'm having the conversation saying, what is it that you're planning on doing with this land? Because I can't tell you that you're going to be able to build what you want to build there. Like, you need to go and figure out if you can get a permit. You need to figure out if you can get that septic. You need to figure out if you've got enough space. You need to figure out if there's water courses there, which is going to completely change where you can place things like a septic and a well, and what you can put in your backyard. And even with the driveway, in particular, if you've got something on a private road and you've got somebody that's looking to subdivide, well, your right of way, it's likely for your one parcel to access that road, not for the 5 parcels that you want to put on there. So you've got another big issue in that respect. Zoning, all of this stuff, and it's very different in every municipality. So, what might be true in Halifax might not be true in Victoria County. And, I think I'm never comfortable with this, we'll just figure it out later approach, because a lot of times you can't figure it out. And, if it's on sale for $15,000, there's probably a reason. And, I've had a client say to me recently, I can't believe that somebody bought my land. I've been trying to get rid of this for a long time, and someone knocked on my door and offered to buy it. And he was just amazed that somebody was willing to buy it. And I don't know where this sudden interest in the vacant parcels is coming from, but I've done more vacant land deals so far this year than I did 2 years prior. It's just coming left, right, and center.
I would say cheap things are expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not making it anymore, right?
No, but what's the sense of having it?
Well, and I think there is some of this is that mentality of, people are coming from other jurisdictions, and the fact that you can buy any kind of land for $20,000 is amazing. but that doesn't mean that it's usable land, you know. And I've had people too say, well, I'm just going to park a trailer there. And then you look it up and there's covenants on the property that say no trailers. So, you know, all these things are important to discuss with your lawyer up front, because if you're not telling me those things until closing day, then we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, I would, we were trying to buy actually a piece of land down in Matatall Lake. Beautiful, big acreage. I think it was for $65,000, not, I can't, or maybe 112. So now we're looking at it and we discover that it's wetland. So we call the seller back up and we're like, oh, I know you're selling an acre of land or whatever it was, but you only have this really small little bit that you can put a house on. You can't do anything with the rest of the land. The seller didn't even know that the land was considered wetlands where you can't develop anything. And some poor soul purchased it privately and has no idea that there's nowhere where you can put anything on it. So it truly is buyer beware, and you have to do your homework.
Yeah, wetlands are a hard one when you have to start dealing with the Department of Environment and you're trying to get alteration agreements, and yeah, you're really limited in where you can place buildings and all that good stuff there.
Yeah, that happened to me personally just this year. I purchased a piece of land that was advertised as 7.5 acres. And I wanted to purchase it to subdivide it because there was like 800 feet of road frontage, and then realized that, you know, 5 acres of it was wetlands and marshy. After I spoke with, you know, did my due diligence and then spoke to my lawyer and looked into it a little further, realized that, you know, there was only maybe 1.5 acres of usable space.
Yeah.
And deal was done. And then they lowered the price a little bit after I informed the agent, because the agent didn't even know. And someone bought it like 2 days later, no conditions.
And didn't know.
And well, I guarantee you they didn't do their due diligence on it. And I wouldn't, well, anyway.
No, oh, I get it. And I would think that holds the same for a property that you're buying. And Ian, you and I have been on a panel before, and I think that you said something that was so poignant, and it's so true, is that the agent doesn't want the controversy, and they are saying yes, 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 to appease the buyer. Would you say that's correct?
I would definitely agree with that. That there are some agents out there, not all, or not
all,
or anything like that. I don't know the number, but there's definitely a percentage of agents out there that don't want to have any conflict with their client. Now, I'm not sitting here saying I want to have conflict with my client, but I am brutally honest with my clients about what they're purchasing and what my personal opinion is on it. Ultimately, I use this line all the time with them. I say, ultimately, you're buying this property and you're paying the mortgage. I'm not. So in my experience, this is what is my opinion, and then they go from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to change cosmetic things about a house. You know, if you don't like the kitchen, you don't like the flooring or the roof, but you can't change the lay of the land. And, you know, if there was a property, let's say back when we had 10 months of inventory and you listed this house and it had a sloped backyard, whether it'd be, you know, on a 90-degree angle down or up, that was a extremely hard sell. It would be the last house to sell on the street. And if you're only looking at the you know, the house itself and not paying attention to the land, when our market shifts, that house that you need to sell because you need to move back to Ontario or wherever that you have to go, if we change, that could take, I mean, we were in like what, 6-8 months of inventory, you know, 6-8 months trying to sell a house.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the same goes for the vacant land, you know, that people are purchasing in and around HRM, especially, you know, subdivisions that have been built up, and then there's these lots. Now, in some cases, these lots are being held by a certain individual and they just never went up for sale. But I find more and more that these lots are the lots that everyone's picked over and everyone else is built on in these subdivisions, and the last ones are the ones that are solid granite everywhere, or they have the big drop off, or they have marshy lands, or water issues. And people are looking at it going, oh, property online makes it look like you were saying, Danielle, it's a nice flat rectangle. When in fact it's like up and down and all over the place. And flag lots, I mean, I don't know how many times I've had to explain that to clients, what a flag lot is, right? They're like, what do you mean I got a 300-foot long driveway? Wow. That's the only way you're getting in there, unless, like you said, Danielle, parachute in there, right? So educating the client is super important.
Yeah. And I think, no, I don't recommend this property because of the lay of the land, where it's located. It's not great. And, I had someone today from Ontario saying, okay, I don't know nothing about Nova Scotia. And, I want to move here. And so my things are saying, what's your lifestyle? If you are someone who likes to go out for dinner and, you like the arts, entertainment, you maybe don't want to live, like near Cape Breton somewhere. I don't know the geography way up there, but maybe that's not what's good for you. Or if you are older and you need medical attention, you need to be going to the hospital. I wouldn't be living in Cape Breton and driving. And now that the airport is closed down, I don't know if it's going to open back up, but if you want to fly anywhere, that's a 3-hour drive to the city in order for you to fly somewhere. So I feel that it's just not about, yes, we are a phenomenal province to live in. We have some great pricing, you can go anywhere and see the ocean. But I think the buyer needs to be aware, not just of the house or not just of the piece of land. Danielle, anything else that you've been noticing lately?
No, but have had a few clients buy like Truro Way and say they were just outside of Halifax. And I think that's because, they're used to, in places like Ontario, driving a few hours to get into the city. And it's very different in Nova Scotia to be, an hour away from Halifax. So I have found that interesting. And I think part of that is, they just don't care that they're far out, but I don't think they have the same appreciation for how the driving and the highway driving and the city versus outside of the city actually is here. So I kind of have a chuckle every time I hear that one. So I am seeing more and more clients kind of pushing out that way, like Enfield, Elmsdale, Truro, just because I don't think there's a whole lot for them to buy in Halifax, but a lot of them are thinking that they're still really in Halifax.
Yeah, and even when you drive out, I would say past Prospect Way, your cell coverage is sketchy. I don't know about the internet, but I know like sometimes in certain areas, like I can't get cell coverage. So, it's not just about the price of the house and the location. I think there's just so many other factors. And I don't know if people are paying attention to those. So Ian, if you had to give a buyer who is coming, from somewhere else in Canada or the rest of the world, and you had to give them 3 things for advice on purchasing virtually, what would it be?
One would be that do your research on the surrounding area. Mm-hmm. And know that you were making that point earlier, that make sure that it's going to suit your lifestyle. So this relates back to an experienced agent, and I'm not saying that all new agents can't help these buyers buy virtually, but I would say that with my 13 years of experience and hundreds of homes sold and hundreds of inspections done, that I could walk through a house virtually, show a client from out of town, and educate them on the property a little better than someone that might be brand new to the business.
How about we call them an educated agent as opposed to, because you could have a new agent who could be educated and I would say.
That's what I mean. I'm not saying all. I'm just saying small percentages of them. I'm sure there's plenty of new agents out there that know more about inspections than I do.
Absolutely. So you're talking about know the surroundings.
Know the surroundings,
Yep.
have an educated agent do a video walkthrough with you,
Mhm.
and book like 2 show. Everyone's doing half-hour showings now, max. Double book those so you can have a full hour in that house, because a 15-minute or 20-minute walkthrough does not give you the full, showing of the house, right?
Yeah.
And then thirdly, neighborhood, the neighborhood, the school system. If you have kids, like there's multiple reasons or things that you got to look at, but it all depends on your situation. But schools are a big thing for clients of mine. I deal with mainly people that are, have young kids that are concerned about what kind of school system they're going to be going into, because people coming from Ontario, like myself, when I came, both my daughters were in the Catholic school system in Ontario, and then came here, and it was either, hey, public school, or $20,000 a year downtown for Catholic school. They went to
Wow.
public school.
And how about yourself, Danielle? What top three, things would you advise a buyer who's coming here virtually? What would you advise them?
Oh, well, the number one thing would be to use a realtor. The
Yes.
private deals right now are an absolute nightmare. And if you're already trying to do something that's a little bit more difficult because you're not in the province, trying to do it without a realtor, in my opinion, is completely insane. So that would be the first thing. There's rarely somebody, there's always somebody that loses in a private deal. Maybe it's the
Yes.
seller, maybe it's the buyer, but I rarely see something where everybody is won. And then I would say, tell your lawyer what you're planning on doing with the property. And even if you're planning on renting it, if you're planning on doing an in-law suite, if it's vacant and you're planning on building, even if you just want to put a trailer on it, you have to tell us, because we can't tell you until you tell us. And understand that we can't tell you if you're going to be able to get a septic or a building permit or any of those good things. You've got to figure that out on your own. Happy to tell you what you need to do, but I can't do that for you. And the third thing I would say would be to have reasonable expectations. And, understand that it's likely not going to be as perfect as those fantastic photos that were online.
Mhm.
And, just be prepared for that, given how you've purchased the property.
Absolutely. For me, I think if someone skips a home inspection as one of their, they don't want it as a condition, I don't really have a big issue with that, because more often it can be fixed. But you can't fix the location, and you can't fix the lay of the land. You cannot fix that. And I think when it comes to purchasing a plot of land, I feel that if it's not in a subdivision, you should be taking at least 40 to 60 days to do your due diligence. And, because it's outlined right there in the contract, that, you have time to get the septic, you have time to find out about water, you have time to find out about the covenants and, what you can do to build on it. So you have that time. And I think it's, again, $20,000 spent to be able to build a beautiful cottage on, or $20,000 that you have to parachute into. I mean, it's just, I know it's taking time, and I know you want to buy here, but what's the sense of buying something if it's, it's obsolete, you can't do anything with it, right?
Yeah, you're right. And, you can't rely on property online mapping to if that's not accurate as to acreage, that's not what's certified. So if you want to know how many acres you have and how that looks, you need to get a survey. There's no way around that.
Absolutely.
I have a property in the Hammonds Plains area that claims on property online there's 7 acres on one side of the road and 6 acres on the other side of the road. It's under offer, and the buyer had it surveyed and realized that the 7 acres on the other side of the street didn't exist. And then we had it surveyed and had the same issue. So, I mean, you have to do your due diligence and not just take the word of property online that it's there. And these people, the owner has been paying taxes on this other property for decades.
Wow. Wow. Can I ask, I'm glad you brought that up, Ian. Danielle, you have title insurance. So how would title insurance, protect someone in that instance?
Title insurance won't guarantee your acreage. So what it will do is it will guarantee that any buildings that are on the property are on your property line and that nobody else has built something on your property line. We'll also tell you that if somebody claims an interest later on, so if somebody says, hey, I have the right to cross the back of your property, for example, if that wasn't in the parcel register, then you would have coverage for any loss because of that. But it's not going to guarantee that you've got that acreage. It's only a survey can do that.
Interesting, interesting. Well, thank you both for your time. Again, I feel that a lot of people, are wondering, is it safe to buy virtually? And we all know it is. You just got to do your homework.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra.
Okay.